Here we go. Hello everybody, welcome to the Photo Creative Eat Challenge live feedback session. If you're new here, these challenges are free to enter and a great way to give your creativity a bit of a workout. There's a link in the description below where you can go and find out more, come and join in. All these the group here covers the cost by small regular donations by the members who seem to get value from it. You know, you can do that by buying a sticker in this live stream by clicking on the dollar button, or again on the website it will tell you how you can do that if you wish to do so. Before we go much further, hello guys, please hit that like button. It really helps because we all have to fight the blimmin' algorithm these days. It's fabulous to see so many new faces in this challenge, and of course our lovely regulars as usual. Now some of you guys, it's been great this last week or so. Many of you guys have been booking to come on workshops and one-to-one days, and absolutely brilliant. I was so looking forward to seeing you in person and hanging out together. Now the feedback in these sessions is random. It's intended to help as many people as possible, whatever level you may be at. If you don't get a shout out, please don't take it personally, because I can't cover everyone in the time that we have available. But you can get guaranteed feedback twice a month by joining my private Picture Perfect feedback group. There's a link in the description. I know some of you guys are in that group, so it's really great to see you giving your photography such a workout. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, so yeah, I know some of you asking, thank you very kindly. Don't know, something's going on with a bunch of nerves in my lower left back. Yeah, it seems to be under control, but it hasn't gone away. So I'm up for an MRI scan before very long to see what's happening. Had some blood tests. They said there's nothing nasty growing in there or anything like that. So that's all good news. So, how splendid to see you all from all over the world and all these different places. I'm just looking down our list of regulars and our list of names, flicking away here. Everything all seems to be working, which is good. So why don't we leap on in to our feedback for the Photo Creative Eat Challenge. There's some really rather splendid pictures going on. Now I usually start from the bottom of the page, your request, but tonight I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. I hope you're all sitting comfortably. I hope you've all got something to drink. I have a lovely Guinness Zero because alcohol makes me feel bad, so I'm delighted to have Guinness Zero. Wonderful stuff. It's such a shame alcohol makes me feel bad, because I do like a glass of wine or a glass of beer, but I just can't drink the stuff, so never mind. What fun. Just look at these splendid pictures. So the challenge, eat, was like, how would you wish to interpret that? It doesn't have to be a picture of somebody actually eating something. It could be anything surrounding the process of eating, whether that is creating the food, whether it is the food or the products for sale in the shop, or being prepared, or whatever it may be. And I think you've done a really great job here in you know, fulfilling the brief. I really do. So let's have a look. Where shall we begin? Who's this? This, I think, is, yeah, it is. It's our friend George. George, you've been with us for such a long time. I hope you're here this evening, my friend. And as always, your sense of humour shines through. You know, you've come up with some amazing, crazy ideas over the years, and it's been absolutely brilliant to see them, my friend. And this kind of fits your brief, doesn't it? This is so you. You know, 3 Brussels sprouts, which of course so many people completely hate. Personally, I love the things. Hello, George. Good to see you. And this is an interesting point, really, just about styles. Lots of people have said, how do I go about creating my own style of photography? You don't. I think that's kind of like trying too hard. You just sort of do what is inside who you are, and that is your style. And I think this is such a George picture. I kind of, as soon as I saw it, I thought, I bet George took that. So yeah, what can I say? So photographically, I like the way you've kind of laid it out, and you've actually got some quite nice light. I don't really know what to say about this one, George, because it's very you, but it's not very me. You fulfilled the brief absolutely spot on, as usual. Is it my style? No, it's a long way from my style. But you've got some quite nice light. Look at these little highlights and shades going on those 3 Brussels sprouts when you place them on the plate. It just makes me laugh. This is the thing about styles, you know. George has a very humorous style. Other people have a very sort of, you know, more landscapey, beautiful style. There are styles within landscapes, for example. So many go for the, you know, the dramatic skies and the dramatic light hitting the mountain and the ground, and it's all really rather lovely. In our private feedback group I was on about, we've actually got a guest speaker coming on our next one. Chap called, why is my brain gone dead? Anthony. Somebody remind me his name, please. Anthony, lovely guy. He's done some phenomenal landscape work, but his work is completely different. I was chatting to him the other day. He lives in Dubai. I was chatting to him the other day, and he told me that he likes overcast days. He goes out and shoots when it's overcast. He doesn't want sunshine. He doesn't want dramatic skies. And his work kind of reflects that. It's a very calm, very natural, sort of pastel-y sort of a style. This is what I mean. We all have our own styles. Be proud of what it is that you do. What can I say, George? It's very you, my friend. It's technically spot on. It's all pin sharp, and it absolutely has your sense of humour. Anthony Lamb. Thank you, Wendy. That's the man. Anthony Lamb. Google Anthony Lamb and have a look at some of his landscape work. It's really different. Of course, I met him at the Exposure International Photography Festival where he was exhibiting and speaking, and I was just blown away by it. I'd never seen anything like it. So anyway, yeah, he's going to be our guest speaker in our next feedback group. So let's just move on. I think this is a, hang on, I just need to do something over here. Manage my 2 screens, that's better. Julia, or as I mentioned, whatever you're calling yourself today, this is such a good fun picture, isn't it? And I mean, it absolutely fulfills the brief. What can I say? It looks like you had a lot of fun doing this, Julia, as well. Now, those of you who don't know Julia, maybe you're newer here, she's been doing this for quite a long time. She's been on a few workshops with me. And Julia's sense of fun comes out in her images too. This is, again, I would say, a very Julia picture. So how you did this, I don't know. Were you working on a self-timer, Jules? Because I expect you're here. I'm just intrigued to know, because this is obviously a selfie and you've modelled for yourself. And I really like the work that you've put into it. You know, all the sauce around your mouth, the look in your eye. It's not an easy thing to do, to create. Hello, Jules. You used interval shooting. Got it. So you've set your camera up. Let me get this right. You've set your camera up onto, I guess it's like burst mode, is it? Where the camera will take a frame and then there'll be a gap and then it will take a frame, so you can just sit there and concentrate on looking at the camera. I just like the way you've got that realistic expression, because it's not an easy thing to do, is it? You imagine just sitting in your room on your own with a plate full of spaghetti, like burst mode but slower, says Jules. Right. With a plate full of spaghetti, staring at a camera and trying to look excited and gleeful and like, you know, you're really enjoying this. And that's what I like, gleeful. You've got the look of a small child, you know, having such a great time. It's a great picture, Jules. You've got some really nice light. I don't know if you did this with a light or lights, or whether you did this using available light. There's just one catch light. No, there isn't. There's just 2 catch lights in your eye, but it's really nice light. Look at the light, people. Look how this side of Julia's face is just slightly brighter than that, and it's giving it a really great shape. This is one of the things about light. It is the most important thing. Obviously, you've got to know how to work your camera, but you don't get to sort of win a rally just after you've passed your driving test. First job, learn to use your camera so you don't have to think about it. Then you can concentrate on light. You can concentrate on looking gleeful with your plate of spaghetti. The other thing, Jules, and look at how Jules has hunched the shoulders, you know, it's like, ooh, this is fun. Absolutely cracking shot, Jules. Okay, so you lit it with a continuous LED with the softbox. Got it. Great way to work. I love the colours, I like the gentleness of the colours, but most of all it's the gleeful expression. You know, these are all things to think about, guys. If you're looking at it thinking, well, I'm going to go and do that, remember it's not just sitting in front of the camera with a plate full of spaghetti. You still have to think about the light, making sure you focused in the right place before you start doing your thing. Imagining the light, imagining the colours, how you want this to work. And then you go and tell your lights and your colours, your camera, how to go about it. Great shot, Jules. Who's this? Neil Zedlav. Hello, Neil. Technically, absolutely spot on. And I do like your light on this. There's some very nice light, and it's bringing these beans, I guess they are, little broad beans, to life. They just sort of, they look really, really vibrant. I think you've been very, very careful with your depth of field, choosing the right aperture, the right focal length, because if you look at this, the beans, it sort of seems to start down here. The sharpness seems to sort of run here and up to the glass, and it doesn't really go any further, which is concentrating us onto what the picture is about. Beans, even though there are other things going on around the beans. It's a difficult thing to make work because, you know, you've got all the other bits and pieces going on around here, but you kind of have made it work because of the light and because of the depth of field. It is kind of interesting. I don't know if I'm thinking, Neil, I'm trying to think of some coaching, something constructive, criticism. How could it be improved? I'm thinking maybe you could just take a bit off the sides. To me, it almost works as a vertical image where you're sort of cutting these bags in half, and maybe the same through this bag, the orange one on the right. Let's do our thing. Come on, guys. What do you think? If we cut the two plastic bags of beans on the left in half, and we cut just a sliver, maybe half of the other one away, almost make it a vertical shot. I kind of like it like that because it seems to match the shape of the glass. But what do you think? Please just pop it in the chat, as is or vertical. Let's just see. Because this is also part of that finding your own style, your own way of doing things, because I think it might work well that way. You may differ. What do we got? As is, as is, as is, as is, as is, as is. Okay. So far it looks like I am definitely in the minority, and that's completely cool. Yeah, I like the addition, Fleetfoot, of the orange on the right, and yeah, that hint of red. It works either way. It's a really nice shot, Neil. It's just something, just a thought. I'm trying to think of some criticism. Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm sticking with what I said. I prefer it slightly cropped either side, but that's just me. So let's work down a bit. What have we got? Oh, who's this? Robert Williers. Hello, Robert. Now, we all know what this is. What an incredibly English thing this is. Crumpet. Hot crumpet with butter. I like your light. I'm wondering whether it... And I like the textures you've got. My only coaching for you, Robert, might be just two small things. I just think, and this is just me again, remember this is just me talking, you know. This is why it's great when we get people in the private one, you know, who will maybe do this for us at a later date, because, you know, you'll hear me all the time. Maybe just a slight tilt on the camera to level the bottom of the crumpet up with the bottom of the image. Also, I like that reflection. Look at that little hint of reflection at the bottom. I just wonder whether just a touch more of that reflection might just help. And then finally, something that I think could work well, that butter's a little bit messy on the top. I'm just, you know, putting my welding glass. Hello, Bob. What a brilliant idea, using welding glass. If you don't know what that is, it's from a welding mask, so it's just black. You can see nothing through it unless you are actually welding. So it's really reflective, and it works well. All I'm thinking, Bob, is just possibly if that butter was just sort of melting a little bit more, it just might sort of bring it to life a little bit more. I'm just trying to think of things which just might increase it, just lift it. But it is a great shot as it is. Technically all spot on. You've got your light just nice, your exposure's spot on. You don't want things like this to be too bright. And I love all the detail. Nicely done, sir. Looks like a cliff face. Who said that? Agent 00 Soul. Hello, Agent 00 Soul. I'm not sure if we've met. Right, let's just ease down a little further. What do we got here? We got some drizzle going on here. From Beverly. Hello, Beverly Divine. Beautifully drizzled. You've got some nice gentle light. It's just kind of soft, kind of gentle, but also you've done a great job again with your depth of field of making these blueberries on the French toast. I see it says. Really, really pop. So this little thing of I don't know what it is, treacle, honey, something like that, is just coming in, and because it is such a different colour, even though it works with the pastry, you know, the crust of the French bread, it's just really, it kind of breaks the symmetry, and it does work very well. The other thing which I think is working very well, Beverly, I like the background. The way that there are those lines and shapes, but they're soft enough, they're not intruding onto the shot. How could it be improved? I don't know. I think the only distraction you've got there is possibly that glass on the left. I feel it either needs to be in the shot with something in it or out of the shot. That's about the only thing I can say with this, because it's a cracking picture. What more could I say? Maybe a drizzle more of the honey. If you're here, Beverly, I'd love to know, how many times did you do this? How many slices did you get through? Or was it a one shot and then you enjoyed your breakfast? If you're here, pop it in the chat. I'm just going to ease down a little bit more. Who's this? Antonia Orchard. Hello, Antonia. Not sure we've met either. Eat, drink and be furry. What a great sentiment. Great idea, Antonia. It is a really great Antonia. A really great idea. So my coaching to you here is, I don't know, maybe you took this with a phone, and I have no problem with people shooting on a phone, but it's all just a little bit soft. It's not quite sharp. It's just not quite sharp, and it's looking a little bit flat because there's a bit of a lack of contrast going on there. But you've got some nice light. Look at this little bit of rim light running around the cat's fur here. Now if it was all completely sharp, that would really pop, and it would just bring a vibrancy, I think, into your image. One other thing I would just say, Antonia, is maybe the angle. I'm just wondering, could you have brought the camera just a touch lower to sort of be a little bit more on cat eye level? And could there have been a moment when the cat just happened to glance up? You still need to be at an angle where you can see the food. But something that would make this really, really work would be if you could have made, you know, that noise that your cat knows and loves and makes it look at you and pop the ears up. Because then you'd have suddenly had interaction. Do you know what I mean? An alert cat with its bowl of food going, "Oi, get off my dinner." Those are just my thoughts, a bit of coaching. But I love your sense of humour there. Agent 00 Soul is saying crop the leg out. Let's try it. I'm just using my scruffy old phone case So let's just try it. Just hold it where you need to, close one eye, and then just slightly crop the leg. You know what? I think you're right. I don't mind the leg. I don't have a problem with it. I think we could either have a bit more leg or no leg. I don't really have a problem with it. It works either way. I just think it's the sharpness and maybe just a little decisive moment. But otherwise, nice one, Antonia. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing more of your stuff as we move forward. Now here's a thing dear to my heart. Ah, it's Patsy's. Hello, Patsy. You gotta love a cow. Ah, in the Fanal Forest on Madeira. I was talking to my partner in crime, who I run the workshop in Iceland with, Thor, about this very place a couple of days ago, because we are playing with the idea of possibly doing a little joint workshop together on Madeira and going to this place. So looks like he's kissing the ground, says Fleetfoot. Indeed. I love cows. They're such quizzitive, funny and friendly creatures. Again, Patsy, there's a slight softness to this. I don't know if you shot it with your DSLR or a phone. It's almost like this little area just beyond the cow seems to be in focus rather than the cow itself. Again, these things kind of can work well if you can go a little lower. I'm thinking, you know, if you were shooting across the grass, if your lens was just above the grass going straight at the cow, I think that would help. And I also, in this case, think taking the leg off helps. That one leg, if there was two legs, it kind of works. But I think you could take a bit off either side. So we've just got the neck coming in from the top right corner and then kissing the grass. Shot from a slightly lower angle would give it a little bit more dynamism. Well done, Alison. Maybe the cow's head was moving. I do a good cow impersonation. Great idea. I like the fact you kind of put a different twist onto the whole eat thing. Yeah, anyway, that would be my coaching to you. The cow's not quite sharp, maybe a slightly different angle. The other thing, of course, would be if you can make a cow noise and get the cow to turn its head towards you. If you know, cows graze in a semicircle, they tend to go munch, 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 munch like this. And if the head had come around towards you a bit, that also might give it just a little hint more. Who's this? Oh, let's have a look at this one. Bjorn Lund Johnson. A knife and brie reflected in glass. I like your reflection. I wonder how long your reflective surface was, because you got that lovely background with the texture in it, and then you've got that reflective surface. And it can be quite difficult to get one background texture to work with another, with the flat, you know, what am I saying? This texture at the back, this pattern to work with this and have a line across, but you've done it really, really well. It just kind of works. Somehow, I think the light isn't working too well for you, because I don't know, somehow it just seems really bright in here. And the knife is just a little bit messy. And I'm just being picky. I'm putting on my product photographer hat, if you like, and coaching from that angle. So yeah, I don't know. If you had enough of the shiny surface, I think it'd be really great to see the whole knife reflected, which would move the main subject, further up the frame. So we kind of be led up the knife reflection to what we're actually looking at. It's just a thought. You may not have been able to do that. Jane Barnes was just saying about the cow will play a musical instrument. Yeah, cattle do like listening to music. Many years ago, I went and did a shoot and wrote a piece for a magazine about a big new dairy that had opened up in the area, and it was all very automated, and the cows sort of wandered in because they knew it was milking time, and it kind of fed them and it led them in, and one man could milk, I don't know, God knows how many cows on his own. And this guy used to play the Metallica. And he said it genuinely made a difference. He said the milk yield was considerably up when he played Metallica, and he tried all sorts of things from Brahms and Beethoven to whatever. But he said the cows liked Metallica. So there's a thing. Also, all cows speak French, but we've talked about that before. What's this one? Hello, Jane Barnes. Eat up, my glass is empty. Right, okay, I get it. So you're looking straight, yeah, I can see your hand now. I've had to think about this for a moment, which is always intriguing. Images that make you think a bit, they can always sort of help. So we're looking straight out through the glass. I like the startled expression going on over here on the right. Jane, you know what I'm going to say? It's not quite sharp, is it? But I do like the idea. It kind of, is it eat? Well, I don't know. It certainly fits with eat, drink and be merry, or furry. But it is a great idea. I like the hand. I like the way I can just see you sitting there and doing that. But what I really like is what's going on over here. There's little bits, that thing in the middle that radiates out is really rather fun, and it takes you out to the edges of the picture. You start to notice other things. Take your time when you're looking at images, guys. Take your time, because it's really easy to sort of, we're in this Instagram world of next, do it quick. You know, and everybody's in this panicky race to take an image that people will go, oh, that's nice, like next, move on. Spend your time, because the more you look, you start to see some different things. Very good point, Jane. Glasses aren't sharp. No, you're right. Glass is a really hard thing to photograph and make it look sharp. Pushing light through it from behind is a big thing. Why is that? It's because when we look at a glass, our brain knows that there is an edge to the glass, but when we take a photograph of it, the camera can't see that edge because glass is translucent, right? So when you have something translucent like glass or ice or something like that, if you can push a light through it, it creates that little rim light around the edge, and it brings it to life and it makes it stand out. Not saying you could necessarily do this for this shot. I get it. Yeah, maybe it's the glass thing. To me, it just looks like it's not quite sharp. But it's a great idea, Jane. And this is all part of these challenges. It's looking and discussing other people's creativity. That's what we're here to do, because we all bounce ideas around. And watching an idea someone else had, you know, we can take that idea and then modify it and move it and make it our own, and make our own version of it. Hello, Kenneth. Our youngest member, Ava Marie, says this was a perfect challenge as her topic at school at the moment is food. How interesting. I'm going to have to keep my eye open for Ava's image, because I don't clock who's done what at the start of things. But who's this? Berti Anne. Hello, Berti Anne. Again, I don't think we've met. It looks tasty. It looks tasty. What can I say? We've got ham, cheese and tomato on a nice plate, sort of floating on nothing. Now, I don't know, did you do this photographically, or did you cut it out? Is this a post-production thing? The light is quite harsh for this sort of subject, Bertie. It's kind of coming down and from above. It's probably a little bit too harsh. Might be better if it was a little softer. You see how it's picking up on the plate here. I've got my coach's hat on here. I'm not being Mr. Nice at the moment. Trying to find ways to help you improve on things. It's just, forgive me, but it just looks a little bit too fiddled with. That is what I'm getting from it. I like your idea, but I think the light is just a bit too harsh. Maybe you've got a light source too close to your food here, and I think if the light was probably coming from the side, and it may work better without just that black background. Maybe you photographed this and the background wasn't very nice and you removed it. I could be completely wrong. Hey, Berti Anne, cut it out to change the background, which was quite messy. Okay, I guessed. Good effort though, good effort. And you know, I hope you find what I've suggested to be useful to you. Probably a good way is if you can tidy up the background rather than chop it out. Something that might have worked is if the plate was square on to do this sort of style of thing. So it's really flat against a really flat background. That could work well too. But anyway, I hope you find that useful and brilliant. Thank you for entering. Do so some more. I think this is the first time we've met. Be good to see you. Thanks for the reminder, Jane. Yes, guys, if you haven't hit that like button yet, please just quickly do it now. I really appreciate it when you do because it just helps out. What else have we got here? Oh, well, let's go here. I'd sing as I moused over it. Michelle Brandenburg. Hello, Michelle. I like your thinking and your idea. The background, you know, we were talking about that where you have one surface meeting another at right angles. That can be tricky, but this isn't too bad at all. It kind of works. Hi, Michelle. The thing here is it's not quite soft and it's a bit, what I'd say, underlit. It's almost like there's not quite enough light, or the exposure could be brought up just a bit to give it a bit more contrast, a bit more punch. It looks just a little bit undercooked and a little bit out of, no, it's not out of focus, forgive me. I don't know that it is because the spoon looks sharp, but again, I know this is glass. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it doesn't look quite sharp. It's almost like the focus isn't quite in the right place. I think that's probably it. I think a touch more depth of field would have helped you here. Just a slightly smaller, yeah, slightly smaller aperture. Okay, so it was a long exposure. Thanks, Michelle. Got it. So you could have left that exposure running maybe a bit longer. So you ran the long exposure to capture the milk swirling into the glass. Now you've got just the right amount of swirl in that glass. I think it looks really, really good. So a longer exposure might have messed up your swirl, and I expect you did this many times. I think you just needed a little bit more light in there, so you could use a slightly smaller aperture. I'm not sure. But yeah, good effort nonetheless. Interesting comment from Ava Marie. Forgive me if you don't know Ava Marie, anyone. Ava Marie is, how old are you, Ava Marie? 6 or 7, something like that. Yeah, she just suggested, how about having the spoon in the glass, in the coffee cup? Yeah, that could work too. That could work too. Yeah, 7. Isn't that impressive? We all love you, Ava Marie. That's an interesting idea. Oh, it's from Sam. Hello, Sam. Oh, I like that idea. By taking a bite out of the apple and then putting a mirror behind it, so you've got the two sides of the apple. Yeah, that's kind of a nice idea, Sam. My critique, my feedback for you here, my friend, would be come back a bit and raise the camera up a bit. I just find it disturbing the way the top of the apple is sort of hitting the edge of the frame up there. There's another one, doesn't look quite sharp, possibly, I don't know, tripod, something like that, but I do think it's a good idea. Something else to watch with images like this is we've got all these lines running across the frame, which is really great, but look, when the gaps aren't equal, personally I find it really distracting. So if you look at the gap on this side between this line here and the bottom of the frame and that side, they're kind of running uphill a bit. It's all a little bit distorted. It's about being really careful where you line yourself up to. But it's a great idea. Eat the brief, you know, it's like a whole apple that has had someone trying to eat it. Great interpretation. What else? What have we got here? Who's this? Tim Gray. Hello, Tim Gray. Not sure it quite works, Tim. Forgive me if I sound harsh. I'm not getting the theme from it. Eat. I'm kind of getting an empty coffee cup, which is kind of a shame because it's a really nice cup, and I really like the tabletop and the angle. This kind of lines, these two lines running up to the back. You've got a really interesting thing going on there. You haven't got quite enough depth of field because the cup itself is kind of soft and the handle is sharp. Bit more depth of field. I'm guessing you shot this at a very high ISO, or you've cropped it from something else, because there is a hell of a lot of grain in it. I'm not sure you needed to have that. I'm not an enemy of grain. I don't mind a bit of grain. Might have been better with something in the cup, a biscuit, something like that, something to nibble on. I just think it might have helped. But, you know, good on you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for entering. Paul Lynn. Hello, Paul. You've got some lovely light going on there. And the back end of a motorcycle in the corner, if I am not mistaken. We do like a motorcycle. Well, I like a motorcycle. I love that light. My only thing I would say is where the light is hitting the flowers, your image is more about the flowers than it is about the eat. Maybe if you could have moved these things around just a little bit. It's a Vespa. Agent 00 Soul, are you Paul? So yeah, I'm just thinking if your cake and your coffee was kind of more in the light and then the flowers were more in the shade, I just think it might have helped. And I'm guessing, what do we got there? Is that a menu? I think it might be. I think that's cool in the shade, that's cool, but I just think our subject was in the light and then the light is waking it up. The back end of your Vespa, I really rather like it because it's a nice shape, and because it is soft and out of focus, it almost adds a little feeling to it. I'm not saying that just because I like motorbikes. It's just an interesting shape and a colour, and that sort of shape and colour kind of works with it. It's like either you're outside your house or you pulled up at a cafe or something like that. I just think swap the two around so the main subject is in the light. What's this one? Diane Harper. Hello, Diane Harper. Diane, if you're here, I can't remember exactly where you live because, you know, this is obviously my stamping ground, isn't it? New Forest pony grazing. The only thought I would have here, Diane, is it's a little bit overexposed. Oh, you're in Barton. Oh, right, just down the road, aren't you? I mean, I used to live in New Milton. I grew up in New Milton. I now live over in Ringwood. But I'd say you're just a little overexposed, Diane. You've got beautiful, beautiful rim light, really well spotted. But I think you could have taken the exposure down just a touch. I quite like the hazy feel to it as well. But I just think just a little bit. Not a lot. Rim light will burn out. That's completely, you know, as it is. What else could I say in the way of coaching on this one? Because it is good. It is. I like it. I like the angle. I like the way you've been brave and sort of chopped the pony's body off. I'm just trying taking the whole body off to see what happens. Doesn't work. Doesn't work if I take the whole body off. It kind of, it's just a little bit peculiar. It might work taking the body off as well, but you'd need that fourth leg because at the moment it's a three-legged horse and it kind of works. It'd be interesting if you could have caught a moment just a little later when the two legs were there. What was that? Somebody, I just saw a little... Neil Cook said, try cropping the right side. Yeah, maybe. I don't mind the right side. I quite like it, actually. Agreed, Fleetfoot. The rim light does work very well with that sort of soft, misty, foresty feeling. Yeah, good effort, Diane. It's one of those things. These things are so hard to photograph because just as you think you're ready and you've got everything right, they go and do something different. They run off somewhere else. But well spotted. Well done for shooting against the light. Well done for finding that rim light, because rim light really, really separates the subject from the background. Sorry, I need a little refreshment. Okay, while we're on the horse theme, Martin Jeffers. It's intriguing because it's unusual. The angle is very, very unusual. Just thinking, should it be that way up? And you've turned it sideways. I'm not sure. I like the intriguing angle. And again, you've got light coming from behind the horse around here, which is kind of intriguing. It's a shame the ear is cut off. Maybe just, you know, you possibly don't need quite so much of this on the right here. Maybe you could have just turned the camera to your left a bit, just a slight twist, so you weren't cutting off the ear. It's intriguing because of the angle. Just trying to look at it that way up. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder, did you turn it? Not sure. But yeah, watch out for the cropping off important bits as you're framing. I know it's difficult. Horses move and it's really difficult because we're concentrating on one area and it's usually the middle of the frame. We have to teach ourselves to keep watching what's happening in the whole picture, not just in the middle. Ah, Glyn Heskins. I think I saw Glyn post something earlier. You're not here this evening, Glyn. Not sure. Nice idea. Little birds feeding. There's quite a few little bird shots going on here at the moment. The light is difficult for this one for you because we've got these highlight and shadow, and the highlights are sort of landing uncomfortably is all I can say. You see, we've got this little pool of light going on here on this part of whatever it is that's in the bird feeder. I don't know, Glyn, whether there was a moment when a bird was pecking at that area. These are those, again, things that happen outside the camera to watch for, because I think if you'd got the peck in that area, you might have just caught that moment when you'd have just had the bird's face in the light, and then it would really concentrate our attention, because naturally we tend to be drawn to the brightest part of an image, which is kind of seems to be this area around the middle here with the breast and around here. So if you could have had time or a moment when that happened. Something else which I think really helps with these moments is shooting with burst mode. Just stick the camera on high speed burst, and then those little moments, so as the bird goes in for the peck, you can just shoot off a quick 4 or 5 frames and it happens really fast, and you just got the right moment. You know, maybe there was a peck and some crumbs starting to cut, I don't know. But yeah, good effort. It's nicely composed. It's, you know, it's a great subject. The colours work well. Maybe a slightly different moment, Glyn. I mean, there are some great ideas here. This is intriguing. What have we got here? Ah, it's our friend Carrie's. minus 35 degrees centigrade. That's cold. That's cold. What I'm intrigued with here, Carrie, is this frozen? Is it something you've done with Photoshop? Is it something else you've staged? I'm just intrigued how you kind of made it work. But it is interesting. I find it interesting because it's kind of like you see it and you want to look at it. It is frozen. Wow. How did the fork get suspended there long enough for it to be frozen? That is something which I'm interested in. Okay, minus 35. Isn't going to take that long, is it? That is really quite interesting. I like the snowiness. Of course, your exposure is spot on. It'd be really easy for the camera to make this too dark because it will see all that brightness, and then it will underexpose it. You literally held it there for a couple of years. I'm going to say it wouldn't take long, would it? The temperatures you got there is kind of like when you throw a cup of boiling water into the air, isn't it? It just instantly turns to ice crystals. Absolutely incredible. I've never experienced it myself, but it's a great idea though, Carrie. It really is. I'm just wondering, do we need quite so much either side? I think you could have got away with cropping half of it, but either way it kind of works because of all the ripply textures, and it's telling us where we are and what's going on. Really interesting take on the theme of eat. See, when we look, there's some really, really interesting. Well, who have we got here? Ken Harmon. Lovely, lovely light going on here, Ken. I do think that's interesting light. You know, you got the buns and the hot dogs on the grill or whatever it is, all that light come out from the grill. I do rather like it. I do rather like it. I think it sort of says a little bit. I think you could possibly have afforded to come in a little tighter. Only a touch. Either possibly all of that bun, or possibly just sort of crop the plate of buns slightly and crop the tongs slightly, because it's about the hot dogs. We know where they are without having to see the whole of the barbecue, the grill. But I do like the light. I like the way you've been brave enough to just let all the light just come up from inside of that grill. Interesting shot. Let's just try cropping it in just a bit tighter. I need to get, look, I'm doing that thing here. I think that kind of works. Okay, so I'm taking this off just kind of like along the edge of this bun here. 2 buns in, and then taking it off roughly down there. So we're just sort of coming through here like that, and I just find it concentrates it more on the hot dogs, on the food part, on the eat part, because they're lined up diagonally. When you lose sort of this area of the shot, again, what do you think, guys? Try it. We all need to cut ourselves some bits of right angle card, don't we, so we can do this. Yeah, I just think it concentrates us. It concentrates us on Ken's sausages. Okay, interesting. Cropping, yes, cropping, as it is, says Alan. Yeah, love it cropped. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We all have our own thing. Interesting. It's one of the things I love about this group, is because, you know, we've all got our own interpretation. And the interesting thing here is, you know, we put pictures online, particularly, you know, when people who are in groups and things say, oh, welcome some constructive criticism, and then someone tells you, oh, you need to this, you need to that, particularly when you're at the start of your journey. You know, take it on board by all means and have a listen, but it doesn't mean what you've done is wrong or bad. It just means that person, maybe me, thinks it might be better a different way. The suggestion may work for you, it may not, but take it on board. But it doesn't mean your shot's bad if somebody says, oh, you did it all wrong. Forgive me, those of you who are in camera clubs, but I find quite a lot of camera club judges to be rather like that. They just have to find fault with something. Good grief, I can't believe the time already. How has that happened? That is a wonderful idea. Look at that. James Cavaretto. Isn't that a great idea? The early worm against the apple. But what a great idea, you know. And also look at the colours James has used here. We've got reds and greens, different reds and greens, even down to getting these little gummy chewy worm things. You know, the reds and greens, they work with the red and green apples. It's a really great idea. Now, what I think might have helped you with this one, James, and it's a really subtle one, it just might help to improve it. You see you've got these 2 highlights on either side of the apple where there are lights either side. somehow. I just think if you turn the apple a little bit, probably to the right, so that this worm's face was in that highlight, I think it would just make it pop just that little bit more. But that's about the only thing I can say. You know, I love the way you've got the tail of this one coming in over the edge. It's a lot of fun. It's a great idea. Yeah, maybe just remember, keep looking at light, because our main point of interest here is in the shaded part. And I think just turning the apple a little, because it would still have worked with that hole to be just there, and you know, the worm coming out, and it had been highlight immediately, boom. So many great ideas. Look at these little birds. Who's this? Carrie Casca. Again, I think we have another new face. Great idea, Carrie. Great idea. I'm sorry it didn't quite work because the cat is just a little too dark. But what a great idea. The cat wants to eat the birds who want to eat the things in the bird feeder. But yeah, the cat is so dark. It hasn't quite come together. How could we fix that? And I also realized this is probably a moment, and you saw it and you did it quick. And you haven't got time to mess around with anything else. How could we light the cat? Assuming you had the time to do it. If you have a speed light on a camera, I'd just bounce a flash off the ceiling or the wall or something. Just set it about -1.5 to -2 stops. And just bounce a little bit of flash off the ceiling or something like that. It would just lift the cat up a bit. If you're shooting with a mirrorless or a DSLR or something like that, something that works really well in these situations is to flick your camera onto bracket and high-speed burst mode. Now, some cameras are easy to do this with, some are less easy. But if you do that, and you've already got it set up on your camera so you can just flick it on, it means you can hold the camera, just touch the button, and if you're shooting 11 frames a second, it would do those 3 frames faster than you can move. You can then just photo merge them in Lightroom. This is where HDR really comes into its own. Because to your eye, Carrie, when you were looking at this, you can see the cat really clearly, but the camera can't quite cope with this difference in contrast. Some cameras are easy to do this with, some are not. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but on my little Fuji X-T2, which I have used for many years, it's great because there is a little button just there, and all I got to do is flick that. I think it's 2, yeah, there we go, 2 little things, and it's now on bracket. So if ever an occasion like this arises, I can just go click, click, done, really quickly. I recently got another Nikon camera because my old Nikon that I've been using for years is so out of date now. I recently got a Nikon Z2, Nikon Z7 II. Great camera. I got it because the autofocus is way superior to the one on my Fuji. The Fuji one's great, but it's not reactive. The technology's great. But I can't put it into burst mode as quickly, burst bracket mode as quickly as I can the Fuji, which really bugs me. As you know, Wendy Lamb. Great idea though, Carrie. I love your interpretation. The cat wants to eat the birds who want to eat the seeds. Fiona Campbell. It's a lovely picture. It is a nice picture, no question about that. But I'm not quite getting eat. I'm getting a still life, if that makes a difference. Yeah, Wendy, I expect you are. Poor Wendy, because she's got this camera. In fact, Wendy was on a workshop with me, and that was when I first had a go with a Nikon Z, and I thought, oh, I like this idea. And then Wendy was down this way shooting something. I said, can you show me a bit about it? Show me a way around a Nikon Z. I was there going, oh, this is rubbish. I don't like it. Throwing my toys out the pram. Back to Fiona. I think it's a nice still life, Fiona, but I'm not quite getting the eat theme from it. But nonetheless, I can see you put a bit of work and a bit of thought into it. Photographic coaching would be take that exposure down a little bit, because this sort of thing works really, really well when the shot's a little dark, a little bit moody. This area seems just a touch over bright, but because this is the brightest area, if you made the whole shot darker, it would give us somewhere to immediately relate to, because there's some quite nice light on these grapes. Even though it's possibly a bit harsh, it's quite nice light. And I think if you brought your exposure down a bit so it's more for these grapes, then the light around the onion and the plum would probably, it would make them darker, but it would make the light stand out, make it a little bit more moody. But it's a, yeah, okay, I've just seen Dawn McLean. You wrote beautiful still life. Exactly, it's a really nice still life. People, we're getting near to 8 o'clock already. I'm going to have to get my skates on because I'm determined to get down to the bottom here. That's intriguing. Ah, Dawn McLean, look at that, you popped up twice. Very creative idea. What is it, broccoli? Oh look, you put a note on there. Yeah, it is. Food colouring and broccoli. It's a very creative idea, Fiona. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not quite getting the eat thing. I'm getting an intriguing image of some broccoli. It's a great photograph. You know, how you've done that and getting the food colouring to swirl through and get that sort of abstract pattern. Nice colours. Great idea. Really is. You know, and take from these ideas, I said earlier, guys, take these ideas on board. Because, you know, you might look at Fiona's picture or any of the other pictures you looked at and thought, what a great idea. Oh, I know what I could do. And then go and play with it. Because this is how we learn. This is how we get good at stuff. Is by doing, not just by watching and listening. We got to, you know, actually get on the pitch and kick a ball. Beryl Franklin. Again, Beryl, I'm kind of getting, rather than eat, which if you think about it, eat is more of a verb, a doing thing. I get it, you're getting food preparation. Maybe I'm being a bit overly harsh here. I think, again, your light's probably a bit harsh. You could have taken that exposure down a bit. It would have made it more moody, and we'd have concentrated here onto this apple a little bit more. I quite like the way you've been brave enough to crop the peelings, but I'm not sure about the edge of the apple on that side. I'm being picky. I've got my, I'm going to be a mean coach hat on. Love the background. I'm quite intrigued with that, and I'm guessing it's a long exposure, and you've swirled something in the background to get that really rather lovely movement going on there. The other thing I seem to, is it out of focus? No, the knife seems sharp, but the apples don't quite. I'm just wondering if your focus point was just a touch off. Good effort though, good effort. And a great idea. There's no question about that. Stuart Cornthwaite. Look at all these lovely new faces. That is such a, that is a really, really cute picture. I'm not good with that. Is that an otter? I should know these things being a forest farm boy. But you know, you've got all this spot on. Look at that. It's absolutely bitingly pin sharp. You caught that little moment when it's just kind of going to bite in and eat something. It's a very engaging image. I'm just going to say you could take just a hint off the bottom, just a hint off the bottom, just a hint all round actually, only a hint. Only a hint. I've got my coach's hat and I'm thinking, how can we make it possibly a little bit better? But yeah, it's a really nice shot. You probably don't need quite so much space. And I know I'm a negative junkie, but I'll tell you what does work. I just did this just to see. Guys, try this. Just crop out the body. You take a line down through here and just lose that bit and then take a bit off either side as well. I think that really kind of works, just having the head and the hand popping up out of the water. That really starts to get quite powerful, I think. What do you think? Beryl has just said the background is her trying to get into the shot, but you didn't get there in time with the timer. Brilliant. But that movement, that swirly movement, I think it's really quite creative. Yeah. Yeah, I quite like it like that. Just taking off a bit either side so we really concentrate on that hand and face and the ripple in the water. We don't see the whole ring of water to know that there's a ring going on. Great picture, Stuart. Where are we? Yeah, we're getting up to time now. Oh, I can't resist another cow, I don't think. Fab. Helen Martin. This is such a cool take on that whole theme of eat. A cow licking its lips. We don't need to see the whole cow to know that it's a cow licking its lips. Also, I think it's quite good fun because your shutter speed is just slow enough to catch movement in the tongue. I do. I think it's great, but there isn't movement in the head. It's just on that sweet spot where it has done it beautifully. A cow licking its lips. We don't need to see the whole cow to know that it's a cow. Our brains fill in the gap. I like that, Helen. I really do like it. No question. What more can I say? Our friend Mr. Cleesby. That's a good fun little bit of street photography there, Gary. And what I like about this is you've caught a little moment, you caught a little interaction moment. Quite like the back of this lady on the left, so that we really know we're looking at this lady here. Little bit lacking in contrasty punch, but I get it. It's difficult, these sorts of night shots, to try and have everything set up just right. Great moment captured. I like the way you so carefully got that window all beautifully aligned. Look, the gaps all the way around the frame, they're all nicely aligned. And I think it was George just said it works well. Absolutely it does. I also can't help thinking it works really well. You see this bit here, Hollands served here, and these things in the window. You can also just lose them. You've got to keep this black bit in here, that upright from the window, but you can just lose that, and I think it strengthens the interaction between the two people. But either way, it still works. Nice shot, Gary. Oh, there's so many more. I'll keep going just for a minute more. Who's this? I know who that's going to be. Hello, Ava Marie, it's yours. It's your school project, isn't it? Lunch in your light box. Nice idea, Ava. Something for you to watch out for is keeping the picture sharp, and I think what's going on here is it's a little bit of movement in the camera. It's really hard to hold your camera absolutely still in your hand because your shutter speed's probably gone a bit slower because this doesn't look like it's too bright. But nonetheless, I love the way that you are committed and the way you do this week after week after month after month after month, really. Looks like you've got quite a healthy lunch going on there too. Nice. I also think it's great that you resisted the temptation to photograph it from directly above, because everybody does it. And often food looks great, but it's something we do see a lot. The distraction of your lunch, of your light box, is just a little bit strong, but nonetheless, it's a good effort. Have a word with your dad and see if he can help you find ways to keep the camera a little bit stiller. I get it, you're small, you're a small person, and it's not easy keeping it all really still. Tell your dad to get his thinking cap on, see if he can help you find some ways to do it. Oh, here we go. Someone said, Dad, get Ava a tripod. Haha. I'm not entering that can of worms because obviously she's going to want the latest carbon fibre. Oh, that's a nice shot. Yvonne Williams. nice colours. Picked out just the right sort of moment here as well. I like the reds against the blues. It does kind of work, and you've picked out this bird in all the thorniness. Yeah, what more can I say? It has an impact to it, and you've caught just the right moment, because look, the bird's back to us, but you've got the head turned, so it's flat on. So again, it's just a nice little moment. Again, it's just said she's got a tripod. I'm not entering into the tripod discussion, but exactly, Irene, it's a perfect moment. These are things to think about, guys. Remember, it's not just your camera, it is you. You know, waiting for the right moment, recognizing the right moment, being ready for the right moment, possibly having burst mode switched on, things like that. I'm determined I will get to the bottom. Oh, I know, right. Peter Schmidt. Interesting, Peter. No, I know Peter because, you know, you're... Okay, I got it. I'm sure you're here, Peter. I saw you earlier. Is this something that was a bit inspired or thought of because of our conversation in the feedback group about Garcia Marina? Garcia Marina, for those of you who don't know, is another person. Go and Google. He does a lot of incredible tabletop photography. It's quirky, it's fun, and it was right, brilliant. You've done it, Peter. I see how you've taken that from Garcia Marina. Have a look for Garcia Marina, guys. I'll tell you what, give me a moment. I'm going to see if I can stick it in the chat. There you go. Copy that out of the chat and Google it. See if you can find Garcia Marina. He's going to be doing a little talk and a little chat. Well, it's not really a talk we do in the feedback group. It's more a conversation because there's only a handful of us, and that's the whole point of it. And so really he's just going to sit down with us over a coffee and, you know, show us some pictures, and people can ask him questions and we'll have a chat. Great. Nicely done, Peter. Nicely done. I think it's a great idea. It's very simple, and you put such a lot of work into that. Peter, did you put the droplets of water there? I know you must have worked for ages with those little grains and crystals of salt to get that lined up. Yeah, exactly, Alison. How long did that take? But yeah, did you put the droplets of water there as well, Peter? Did you drip them there? Did you spray them? It's really interesting. 8 hours. What can I say? It's a lot of work, isn't it, for one little photo? And Peter's going to hate me now because I'm going to say, I think the light's a little bit strong coming from the right, my friend. I'm being harsh. I'm putting my harsh critic's hat on now. I like the light on the right, but it's falling off a little bit fast when it gets to the left. If it could have been just a little bit more even right the way across the sole, I just think it might have helped. And I'm really giving you some stick because you deserve stick because you're good at it. And I know how your mind works. Funny enough, Alison's just booked a one-on-one day, and we had quite a long talk about you earlier. We were talking about you, my friend. Yeah, I'm just thinking, if you could have found a way to snoot that light, so it just went down the sole and then it would sort of go into the brighter bit in the middle. I'm being really, really harsh and picky here. You could probably help. That was defensive, Alison, saying nothing bad. Something that can help with the light falling off is by moving the light further away from the subject. The light falls off more slowly. I think it's called the inverse square law. I can't remember how it works, but light falls off in a strange way. If you want the light to be more even, move the light further away and then it will fall off more gently, because this is a very small area that you've shot here, Peter. But it's a great idea, great effort, and I love to see that you've been inspired by our conversation about Garcia Marina. Guys, remember to copy and paste that out of the chat. Go and look up Garcia because it's quirky, it's funny, it's engaging. Some of his stuff is making a statement and it could be about all sorts of things. But almost all of it he just shoots in his own home. There's nothing clever, there's nothing fancy, and it's mostly things that we could find relatively easily, and yet, you know, he's become well renowned. He does exhibitions all over the world. Lovely, lovely, humble Spanish guy. He's such a nice man, and he's quite shy about coming to talk to our feedback group. Okay, let's just ease on down a little further. I'm determined to get to the bottom so everyone gets a chance to look at everything. What a cool idea. Neil Letournier. Such a quirky, cool, funny idea, my friend. I love the way you've made a dolphin out of a banana. It is such a quirky, cool idea. It just made me laugh, I must admit, when I saw it. You've got some nice light here. Look at this catch light on the back of this strawberry. There's some nice bits of light. You've got a bit of light coming in at this angle. You've got a couple of issues here, Neil, and one is we were talking about how backgrounds, where they meet, and that is where the blue is meeting the blue. We got that unpleasant, distracted sort of a line there. If it's at all possible to make a swoop with a piece of card or a piece of cloth, you have to make sure there's no wrinkles and, you know, what is it? Yeah, like my shirts, wrinkles in the fabric, and then just sort of bring it around like that, and you've got a seamless background, because that would work. Because as somebody just said, you've got great colours, blue and yellow, best friends. Yeah, I think it's quirky, I think it's funny, I think it's a really creative idea. Good on you, my friend. Okay, we kind of come down pretty much to the bottom, and as you can see, there's been some great ideas, some interesting images. There's one. Right, it's our friend Jane Kilbride. Lovely picture, Jane. Got it. And I didn't actually need to read the thing. Yeah, it's a really, really lovely picture. I know I've seen these before. I saw these a few days ago, of course, because when I went through and chose some of my favourites, but I don't always remember who shot them, because I try not to read who shot them. And I also try not to look at the lights and things so that it's authentic. But it's a great shot. I mean, those of you who've been around this, Jane's been around this for a long time, as have many others. Hi, Jane. You know, and Jane's pretty accomplished at this stuff. And it's a really great idea. I do remember looking at this a couple of times, because the telltale bit is here. You have to look at the image for a moment to understand it. So in the context of eat, we can see the kitchen. We can see where the food's being prepared. And of course, you've got that lovely light on this guy's face. Well spotted. Great sort of a documentary picture. I love the fact that it's dark, it's nighttime. And the way you've used the tables to line us up, that is such a subtle but effective leading line between the glasses and the tables. Great idea. So guys, I hope you found that to be useful and, you know, of value, because there's some great images going on in there. I've just got to get myself sorted out, so bear with me a minute. There are some really cracking images going on inside there. Look at everybody's work. Try and be inspired by it and think about it, because that's what it's all about. We all take ideas from each other. Now I've gone and lost something I was looking for. What a half-wit, Browne. What am I looking for? That's what I was looking for. Right. I think we are ready to rock and roll with the ones which I kept coming back to over and over again. They're not winners. This isn't a competition. This is a challenge. These are just my personal choices that I thought made picture of the month. Ones that I just kind of kept coming back to again and again and again. Thank you everyone for joining in. I'm going to give my workshops another plug, because people are sort of booking a few up. And those of you who've been on them, you know, within the group, you know, please share your experiences. And if anyone's got questions, you can always contact me, but you can also ask other people in the group. You know, we've got Zurich coming up. It's a really great one. I know I posted about it on the page earlier. But it's such a great one. I couldn't believe it when I saw on EasyJet at the moment, you can fly, if you're in the UK, of course, you know, you can get out to Zurich from London for less than I can take a train up to London. It costs me about 75 or 80 pounds to take the train up to London, but I can fly from London to Zurich for less than 50. It's crazy. Anyway, I really hope some of you join me on that, because Zurich is a blast. Let's have a look at my chosen picks of the month from this one. I just need to sort myself out over here a bit, because I can't actually read what I'm looking at on this screen. It's just too small. So I really was drawn to this one from Bruce Robertson. I liked the delicacy of it. You know, we've got spices, which of course go so well with food, and you know, I just realised in my head I possibly sound like a bit hypocritical. There's another still life, but I don't know, somehow it just drew me. The subtlety of the colours, it's a very pastel, gentle thing, and it's spices. We eat our spices. Our spices improve our what was I going to say? Our enjoyment of the things that we eat. But I like the way you've positioned your herbs and things. I like the way you've kind of got them. They're a little bit messy, or a little bit all over the place. You've got some really nice, subtle sort of side light going on in this image. And it works so well against that background. It's really simple. Sorry, Jim, I'm seeing something. I think I don't know, maybe you're talking about something else. Says your screen only shows, glad to hear there are more. Not sure quite what that is. Everybody else, you're okay? You can see everything? Everything's working? Just give me a quick Y in the comments or something. Oh, George, you got a problem with something, have you? There's nothing that I'm aware of from this end. Okay, I'm getting a few Ys. Okay, good. Yeah, if you have a problem, guys, just hit the refresh button on your browser and hopefully things will come back. I'm not sure what you mean by only got 3 on your screen. You should just be seeing me and 2 images. I wonder what's going on. Anyway, whatever. I think the majority of you are good, so I'm going to move on. Forgive me, because there's nothing I can do from this end. I've got a big green light saying that my collection is excellent. Beautifully done, Bruce. I just think it's subtle. I think it's interesting, and I like the pastel shades. So it's an image which I just kind of think worked. So now we have it's our friend Dena Peters again, actually. This is just such a good fun thing, and it screams eat at me. It absolutely screams eat. You've got lovely subtle colours. The colours all work together. You've got this sort of warm yellowy indoor tone from it. The angle from which you've shot is just great. Also, look how Dena has framed the shot. We don't need to see the whole dog to know there's a dog there. I love the alertness, the body language of the dog. Look how he's just like so anticipatory. And I think you said something in the comments, let me have a look, about, wait for it. Yeah, you did. It's almost, he's there, he's been given the leftovers and you're going, wait, you know, and then go on in. And I think you've really captured that feeling in this image. It's not an easy thing to do, to capture a feeling. So for me, this really fulfilled the brief of eat, and I think it is a beautiful picture. Really well taken. It tells a little story. There's some nice light, perfect exposure, sharpness is spot on. You know, we're looking at the food and the dog, and we can just feel how excited that little dog is. Maybe less garlic. Who said that? Irene. The next one is, sorry, because I can't read the name. I want to get it. Ah, it's our friend Sandra Sim. Again. We've all done it, haven't we? We go to cook an egg and we drop it. We drop an egg on the floor. I probably shouldn't say this, but my brother always says, oh no, I've just ovulated whenever he drops an egg on the floor. But it's a great picture. Look at that little catch light on the yolk. What intrigues me here, Sandra, is did you break the egg on purpose? I'm guessing you probably did. But also look at the light. Remember, there's a few images we looked at earlier this evening where I was saying, look, we've got the subject in the shade and the supporting items are in the pool of light. This is the power of having the subject in the pool of light. I love the way that, you know, this dropped egg is just sort of lying there broken on the surface. But look how it's beautifully framed by those two shadows. And that is really helping us to realize what we're looking at. Yes, indeed, I was about to mention the sunburst, Susan. You know, Sandra's got that little sunburst, that little star going on that little highlight on the edge of the yolk. So I'm guessing you used quite a small aperture for this one as well, because it's also really sharp all the way through, which is fine because there's nothing to distract in the background. But it's the light that's holding it together. And look at the rim light around the edge of those shells. It's a really simple but very effective and beautifully thought out and executed image. Beautifully done. So our next one that I kept coming back to, or is it added in post, says Jules. Don't mind, still works. Is from Heather Bagnall. It's a very graphic, very, you know, staged image, but it's beautifully done. Look how these tones work so well together. I really like the way you've got the cup in the corner there, Heather. You've just kind of, you know, it's just like almost a quarter cup. We don't need to see the whole cup of coffee to know it's a cup of coffee. Not in post. Thank you, Sandra. And it's just really nice shapes, really simple colours, and it's effective. It's the sort of thing, you know, you can see it on the wall in a coffee shop. You know, a lot of coffee shops have little things of their products and things they sell that people can enjoy, you know, printed as, like, you know, art pieces on the wall. And I think this is another one. Do you have to go, Kenneth? Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to Ava Marie. I'm guessing it must be around her bedtime. Good night, Ava Marie. Thanks, Kenneth. See you guys next time. Yeah, that's the word, Irene, a catchy composition. It is. It's an eye-catching composition. The light's soft. There's no harsh highlights. There's no, it's just nice soft light because it doesn't need anything more. There's just a little catch light on the edge of that triangle of Toblerone. I just think it's a really nice image. Our next one is from, the one I came back onto next was from Marcus Allen. Because it's moody, it's simple, it's really well lit, it's a lovely shape, and it is effective. Whenever you think of caviar, it is an effective photograph. We've got black and silver and nothing else, and it works well. And we've also got the eat aspect because of the cutlery. You know, it's a spoonful of caviar waiting to go onto a dish, waiting to go somewhere, whatever it may be. Yeah. What more can I say? I think it's a beautifully done image. I'd be intrigued if you're here to know how you lit it. I don't know if you used artificial light, Marcus, but the light is coming from, I don't know where it's coming from, slightly behind, I think. Let me look at a bigger version on my other screen. Yeah, because look at those little highlights wrapping themselves around the little black eggs, and it's catching them and giving them a shape, which is, I'm just intrigued. Anyway, I'm going to move on because we need to do that. So my image of the month, my pick of the month, the one which I kept coming back to because I just found it actually a really enjoyable image to look at, despite the fact the subject matter is kind of gruesome. And that was this one by our friend, who I don't think we knew until now, Jonathan Flage or Flage or Flaggy, I'm not quite sure. But I just think it's a great picture. I think it screams eat. It's eye-catching because it's kind of almost shocking. Do you know what I mean? It's harsh, it's hard. It's kind of like, what's that? And then you realise that the body of the fish has been eaten, and the fork gives you the clue. The serving board that it's sitting on, black and white, I think was absolutely the right choice here as well. The light is coming from above, which is good because it's washing down the fish. And look at those beautiful textures in the skin and in the fins. This is another one of those things that I could so easily see it on the wall in a restaurant. You know, I get the feeling I've just had a great lunch in a nice fish restaurant by the sea somewhere. Julia said, "Screams eaten to me, not eat." Get your point. Yeah, I think it's a really accomplished image. Look how carefully composed it is. Now I know the edge of the board is very close to the edge of the frame, but there is still that separation there, that little shallow line, and I don't think it matters at all. The positioning of the fork is just bang on. We don't need to see the whole fork, just those tines. We know that there is a fork there. Someone has just eaten a fish. Look how carefully composed it is. Look at the bottom of the board and the bottom of the frame. It's all nicely lined up. We've got grey on grey on grey on grey. Now I don't know, it could be there are all sorts of colours there, which I think may have been distracting. The depth of field is just right. We're looking at the fish and everything else is just slightly soft. So to me, it said eaten. Got it. Past tense of eat. So just before we go, I just want to say thank you very much for being here, guys. And if you haven't hit the like button, please do that. Not so many of us here tonight, I can see from the numbers, but it doesn't matter. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to spend an evening with you again. Yeah, go and check out, as Jane Barnes just said, Garcia de Marina. Lovely guy, amazing pictures, and I'm sure that you will be inspired, especially if you're someone who likes doing tabletop photography at home, because that's what this is, but it's at an incredible level. It's quirky, it's funny, it's great. Yeah, beyond that, I wish you all well. Have a fabulous week. The next challenge is going to go live on the website very soon. After we finish it, I'll stick it live and I'll pop a link into the group. Be well, people. Thank you for spending an hour and a half with me this evening, and get stuck into the next challenge. Enjoy it. And once again, thanks for being here to all our new faces. Be well.